Hey everybody, this is Dan. This is a Week 10 update video for Stat Spring 2015. Good job to everybody last week interacting on the discussion board, posting problems from sections 7.2, 8.2, 8.3, and 9.2. So a few people didn't respond yet. I sent you an email to remind you to post a problem from your online homework, but had a lot of interactions here on from pretty much everybody in the class. A few of you still need to respond to a few others. It looked like you all did a pretty good job of answering each other's questions. If that's not the case, if you still have a few that are unanswered, and also as we move forward in chapter 7 through 9 here, these next few weeks, the questions here from, and this week is 7.3, 8.4, 9.3, and 9.4, and also next week, these are going to be a little more difficult. If you have questions on those, I like to encourage the similar interaction we had over these sections, but let's just go ahead and post them here in course content. Right at the top here, it's this FAQ, frequently asked questions discussion, and you can just create a thread and post your question there. And be sure, if you're interested as people post, if you want to give and receive responses, to subscribe to that discussion board. So let's go ahead and post problems from the rest of chapter 7, 8, 9 there. There is one more discussion of these chapters, and this is a hypothesis test discussion. You're supposed to create your own hypothesis test and kind of go through it and how you'd answer it. One big error I see on this is I give an example of a possible response, and I use this null and alternative hypothesis. It's the difference between two means. You know, if you're talking about proportions, make sure that's P1 and P2. If it's just comparing a mean to a number, like we think the average is supposed to be a 75, then that'd be mu1 equals 75. Some people just copy paste this even though it's not appropriate for their situation. So you got to be aware, is it means or proportions, is it deviations, is it one or two samples? So make sure you do the appropriate null and alternative hypothesis for those. This week is on means. And there's a lot of good videos here to watch, some good applets as well in the online homework. So I would definitely get ahead as much as you can on these. We do start with the T distribution, so I'm going to go actually show you with that. Chapter 7, 8, 9, textbook and review materials. I'm going to click on formula sheets and tables. And this T table is very similar to the normal distribution. The Z table, as you can see, it's the same shape. It has one and two tails. But this table is different. If we think of this as the degrees of freedom is how large the sample is that we're pulling, this takes into account the difference in the distribution. So the fewer the samples, the more spread out the distribution is. The higher the sample size, the more normal it becomes. And if you look here at the bottom, as sample size goes to infinity, it ends up being pretty much identical to the Z table. So if you look at this table, for instance, we know 1.96 is the Z-score for a 95% confidence. So there's a two-tailed 95% confidence. So that's 1.96. But if you don't have a normal distribution, we have smaller sample sizes, we can still use this distribution. This came up with a guy named Gossett, came up with this distribution. And as you can see, as the sample size gets smaller, then the spread gets bigger and bigger. So instead of a Z multiplier for proportions, we're going to start talking about means. So we can actually use small sample means and use a similar T statistic instead of a Z statistic. So I know this is not an all-inclusive video, but I just want to give you a little heads up where the formula or the sheet is, the table is, and then also if you go back here, make sure your stat formula sheet. So last week was proportions 1 and 2. This week is going to be means. Confidence for one mean, confidence for the difference between two means. And so what you'll need here is this T score. This T is what you're going to need this week. And then also here for hypothesis testing, there's a T distribution for one mean and the T score, T statistic for difference of two means. So, and then dependent data. This is paired data. So, I strongly encourage you to go through all the videos, but want to get heads up on those. And like I said, if you have any questions on your homework, make sure you post those under course content here. Very first thing, frequently asked questions. Keep posting those. And you can do this discussion board this week. It's not due until at the end of next week, but I would tell you to get a jump on that right now. So hope this helps get you going. And these next 2 weeks are probably the most difficult of the course. So really encourage you to get in there. And we'll plan on having a review session before you take your next test. So look forward to that. Talk to you later.